All right, so this meteorite has been now on the ground for just a little over 24 hours. So what has happened in the first full day that it's been on the ground? Let's get an update on that. Have there been pieces found more than just the one piece that hit the house? Yes. There's been more pieces and more people who have found pieces than I will talk about in this episode, but I have reached out to Chris Sanders, Roberto Vargas, and Steve Arnold of Meteorite Men, and they've given me permission to talk about their finds so far. So there's lots of other hounders out there I know who have also made finds, but those are the three guys I've talked to specifically and that we're going to talk about today. So let's start with Chris Sanders. This fell just a couple hours away from his house, and he literally just put out a children's book called Milo and the Midnight Meteorite. There's a link in the description below to both Chris's channel, his YouTube channel. He makes awesome short form content, and to Milo and the Midnight Meteorite. Chris was able to find 2 small pieces, which is super exciting. Like I say, I'm just so stoked for him. And his pieces we'll look at right now. The second person I want to talk about you're probably familiar with, Steve Arnold from Meteorite Men. And that was actually one of the first updates that I had received that this was a fall. I hadn't even seen anything on the news yet or anything. I just received a notification that said, hey, Steve Arnold went live on Facebook. And I was like, really? I'm not real active on Facebook, but I clicked the link and he's like, hey guys, I'm on my way. It's an 11-hour drive for me and I'm on my way. So, I was like, really? So that was my first heads up that there was something going on. And day one, Steve Arnold was able to find a handful of small finds. And last but not least is our friend Roberto Vargas. He is the president of the International Meteorite Collectors Association. I am a member, IMCA number 6283. He's a good friend of mine. He's a really great guy. So Roberto got there also just as fast as he could, as he always does when there's a fresh fall. Roberto found a few finds, and he posted some really clear, really good pictures of his finds. And he found one of the larger pieces that I've seen. I may have heard whispers of other pieces as large or nearly as large, but he's got one of the larger pieces that I can recollect seeing, and I've seen a lot of pieces and read a lot of things, talked to a lot of people in the past 24 hours, so forgive me if I'm sorely wrong here, but Roberto found a 151 gram piece, and it's beautiful. This meteorite, though, when I look at Roberto's pictures of it, it actually kind of reminds me of Chelyabinsk just a little bit, with really dark, awesome, fresh fusion crust on it, and that lighter interior of, like an ordinary chondrite lighter interior. So that's my guess for type, but it doesn't just physically resemble Chelyabinsk to me just a little bit, but it also kind of acted like Chely did. It entered our atmosphere. It was a very bright bolide. It sonic boomed, and it made lots of small fragmented pieces, some which were fully crusted, some which were half crusted and then later secondary crusted, and some which were, freshly cracked and broken pieces to highly oriented pieces. So, as predicted, by the size of that one small piece that came through the house in Georgia, in the roof in Georgia, I kind of guessed in my first video that this probably there's just no way that one little tiny stone had produced such an explosive and violent detonation coming into the atmosphere as it did. There had to have been more of this meteorite, and within the first 24 hours, actually, I think the first piece actually was found within the first 2 hours after seeing it. I'd said that I wanted it to be something exceptionally rare and exciting, something really awesome for science, like a carbonaceous chondrite, but I'm really glad now that I know that it rained, hailed, like literally 4 hours after it fell. I'm really glad it wasn't a carbonaceous chondrite, because rain will absolutely just destroy a carbonaceous chondrite the very first time it happens. So we're really lucky that it wasn't one of those precious rare meteorites. That it does, to me, really, really, just like I say, reminds me in every way of Chelly. Just a little tinier, obviously. And I acted like it upon entry, kind of did the same thing, and almost kind of looks like the same or real close to the same classification to me. Again, I'm just looking at pictures. So, but so far, that's the update that I have. Numerous pieces have been found within the first 24 hours by a dozen or more, maybe 20 plus. I don't know, people who are actively hunting the field, enthusiastically actively hunting the field in search for more of these. And when I say this, the field, I don't mean a field that you put a cow in either. I mean the strewn field. So at this point in time, all of these people are hopefully keeping track of where they found their pieces, and will consider that, like, maybe this larger piece was found here and the smaller pieces were found over here, and maybe we'll see a pattern start to emerge. We can start to then, not just in our imaginations, but actually physically map out a strewn field where we plot those finds and their weights and their distribution across the layout of, when I say field, it could be houses, sidewalks, driveways, roads, businesses, and open parking lot, and maybe, you know, a rural, unestablished lot, all included in one strewn field. It could, you know, like if it, again, lands in, you know, Antarctica, the strewn field will probably be nothing but a sheet of ice, you know, one solid sheet of ice. At this point in time, like I say, they're collecting their pieces. Everybody's input counts, because we want to start to build that map of what finds came from where, and how collectively they plot. So that, you know, again, you start building that map of all of these finds, littler pieces here, medium pieces here, bigger pieces here. Well, then we're going to start to look for a main mass on this end, you know, versus over here. So yeah, and that just has to do with the weight, the inertia, and the resistance in our atmosphere, dropping the smaller pieces off, and then, you know, those pieces are still carrying good momentum versus these ones that are now just kind of, you know, falling. So yeah, there lots of finds so far, and lots of finders out there finding. And it sounds like you know, really cool community. Everybody's meeting and shaking hands and comparing finds, and it makes me smile just thinking about, like, this is just so cool. And I'm over here, you know, watching the play-by-play on everybody's individual channel, kind of putting all the pieces together. But I'm announcing to my significant other every, you know, hour or two, oh, Chris made a find. Oh, good. I really hoped that Chris would make a find. Oh, Steve Arnold found some. Oh, I didn't announce Roberto, and so he had seen Roberto's post and was like, did you see this? And I was like, I did. And I was, my reply to him, I love you, Roberto. My reply to him was, do you see the love in that man's eyes right now? And he was like, I was going to say something about how his smile went all the way up into his eyes, and that he was definitely smiling with his eyes. But he was like, you're right. That's definitely like totally charmed and spellbound love that you can see captured in this photograph of Roberto looking at his 151 gram piece of this freshly fallen meteorite. So this was a little less formal video than the last one. And I meant to ask today and didn't. Who's going to classify this? I have a couple guesses. It's probably one or the other. I'm probably have 50-50 odds of being right, or maybe even both are right. So once we get some classification information on this, what type, you know, what shock, obviously it's going to be a very low weather stage. So once we get more of that information, oh, and its place name. then we'll have, you know, that video will be just a little more scripted. All right, thank you everybody for watching. I'm so glad that I could share this update with you. I am just so stoked for those guys who got there and found pieces. All right, thank you guys so much for watching today. And in a world where you can choose to be anything, choose to be kind of a rock hound. Okay, so a full 24 hours have passed since the meteorite over Georgia. What's happened? Has anybody found anything? The fuck? I have no idea. Okay, take two. Been a full 24 hours since the meteorite over Georgia event. Sanders. This fell just a couple hours away from his home, and oh, fireworks. I had said that I'd wanted it to be something exceptionally exciting, like an ordinary, or I'd said that I wanted it to be something exceptionally rare and exciting, something really awesome for science, like a carbonaceous chondrite. We're going to nerd out so hard this Wednesday in our meteorite meeting. It's going to be a lively Wednesday night for the Knowledge Bullhead crew.